as what is meant by a JSON. Okay. So what are the topics today I'm going to cover? Basically, topics would be what is meant by a JSON. Okay. Where it will be used. Okay. Then how do you do a JSON validator? How can you generate a sample JSON for your programming kind of a stuff? And the source, basically, almost all the APIs in the world, the return value will be on JSON file. What is the advantage of those things? Let's go into that one. And sample code on what is meant by sample codes on basically how do you write a program in PowerShell and Python and choosing two languages. How do you do read the objects and parse the JSON files? These are the things we are going to do. Okay. So to get a better idea about what is meant by a JSON, just forget about what is meant by JSON. But please help me out. I want to take one simple sample and you help me out in how do you come up and provide me a solution. Don't take it very political, but can you provide me? So can you please help me out in providing how do you represent Gandhi's family? Like you have something first, basically there is Nehru, okay, and then you have okay, then you have Nehru. Let's take an example. Then you have Indira Gandhi. Okay, Gandhi. Okay, okay. Then you have Rajiv Gandhi. Then you have two sons, Rajiv Gandhi, as well as okay, Sanjay Gandhi. And then you have Rahul Gandhi. So how do you represent them? Like I want to ask, like, can you come up and represent like who is Nehru, where he is born, what is his address, what are its habits, what are its hobbies? I provide this information. Provide me so that in the later point of I want to read this data or properties. How do you represent? Each and every person can go and represent in multiple ways. Like you write it Nehru, and maybe let's take an example, and then immediately come up and say, like he belongs to which city, and you write it like this one. And another person come up and say, city is equal to like this one. And another person, if you ask him to represent, he may come up and specify city is equal to like this one. So there are multiple way of representing. So that is the reason the problem came into picture. How do you come up with a common representation? The common representation. So that's the most important. One of the most important. There are three common representation that basically very important point. What is okay JSON? So there are three things. Data representation format. It's not a language, it's a format. Very famous is JSON, YAML, and XML. So today it's all about JSON. So what is meant by a JSON full form? Okay, JavaScript object notation kind of. Always remember this is a data represent. How do you represent the data so that in future I want to use it? Okay, it's not a language. They have written in such a format. It is very easy to read as well as parse the data. Okay, and basically for any API almost all over the world, if one language wants to connect to another language with one language wants to connect to another language, the common representation is a JSON, because JSON is understandable in Python, Ruby, PHP, anything basically you want to go for. Okay. So let's take a simple example of how do you go for a JSON kind of. Here I'm taking my own example. So JSON, basically, if you have multiple files, you start with basically opening the Cloud backend. And I represent name, and my name is Kumar. And this is a string. Okay. Whenever one of the properties completed, provide a comma and come up with another properties. Age is basically, this is an integer. There is no need to represent anything in double quote. It's basically a number. You can come up and say 3.5, 4.2, anything basically, or those kind of values. Salary is another properties which I'm providing someone, okay, some value. Department, it's HR, come up in picture. Is it married or not? Yes, he is married. So that's the reason I'm adding married. So Boolean, true or false are allowed. Now, number of kids. So you don't have any kids. Basically, that's the reason you have another thing called as, okay, null values. Okay, you have a friends. So friends is multiple values. I can come up with a multiple objects or basically an array. So I have Alex, Joy, or basically multiple friends. I have a representation. And a very important point, this would be very important. So what kind of cars I like it? Let's take an example. This cars is an object, so which contains not a single entity, but multiple things. Like I like Ford. In that Ford, what models? 1, 2, and 3 models. And I have another like I like BMW. And what kind of models I like? I like 1, 2, and 3 model. This is a representation of me, who I am, what I like. Okay, those kind of things. Now, if you come up and specify this is one representation, how do you continue another representation? So my first representation starts like a curly bracket and ended here. Put a comma and start another information. Another, my closest friend, Dheeraj, his age is 30, his salary is this one, he's a software developer. What are its like? I'll write it and I continue this format, which is I in the early class, in the early okay session, I have said like, how do you go and represent Nehru, Indira Gandhi, right? You can represent basically in this format their properties. So what is an advantage of all following these properties? Tomorrow I want to read those properties object using JSON. It is very, very easy to read. Okay. So I have this particular file basically. So one of the very easiest one, very easy one would be, I have written, if any of the smallest syntax you do a mistake, I'm using an IDE called as Sublime Text. I think most of the people are aware. And I'm selecting in Sublime Text, going into JavaScript, and I selected JSON. So if any kind of a mistake I made an additional comma, it provides me very easily that the syntax is wrong. It says red color mark. And there is another way to validate whether your JSON is correct or not. I always suggest to go to this way, Control A, Control C. So let's copy from here. So this is my JSON. I copy this total JSON. Go to Google and type simple anywhere JSON validator. Okay. You can go and click on JSON validator. Okay. So what will happen once you click on a JSON validator? I think my internet is slow. Okay. Once you click on JSON validator, okay, so once you click on JSON validator, just paste your JSON value there, whatever you want to go and specify, whatever you have written, copy and paste as an example. Once you keep it as an example, immediately what will happen? You will see, okay, if there is any syntaxes in the JSONs, you can see, I think I have some internet problem. It's fine. So I go and check it once. Okay. That's fine. Otherwise, I'll take it this one later. So now I have my JSON file. That is fine. What is the next way? Let us go and test this JSON, whether it is working or not. So what I have done, copied this JSON and created into text file. Let me open this text file. If you open this notepad, the same thing I represented. I think you can see the same thing I represented. All the data I kept it in JSON as an example. What is the next thing? Let's go through my programming in PowerShell. How do I read this data? So take an example of how do you read this data. So I am going through a PowerShell program. So if you represent, so what I'm doing, I'm get the content from the file called as JSON, and please convert from the JSON format to a normal object function. So in this one, you have an object. So, but if you can go back and see, here you have two properties. One is Kumar and another is Dheeraj. So two properties. So I'm writing a for loop. For each in this data total object, read a single object. In that single object, get the information of name and friends. If you can go back again here, it will go on information of name as well as looking for friends. Okay. So see, let's go and run it. I'm running the PowerShell program with a debugger. Click on debugger, click on OK. It stops here. Let's debug it one by one. So if you can go back, I'll keep my cursor here. And are you able to see the total object is created? Kumar, Dheeraj 2. So I'm writing a for loop. So for each one, if you can go here, first one is only Kumar. Who is Kumar? Age, salary, department, all those things come in picture. I'm just printing the data. If you can go below here, it says what is the name of the particular guy? Kumar. Who are his friends? When you go and click on it, Alex as well as Joy are his friend. Now I have the second information. I'm going and reading this information. So how do you go for it? Second, same thing. And now you go back here. Name is equal to Dheeraj. And when you go back it, It says Ashok and Vamsi, which is here. So JSON is a very, very important, okay, data representation, and JSON is available, or basically JSON scripting is available. The libraries are available in almost all the languages in the top 10 languages in the world. The same example, let me go through Python. If you can go back here, okay, so what I'm doing, the same program but it in Python. So I'm importing JSON. There is no need for me to write parsing myself. It is all given by libraries of Python. Import JSON, read the JSON file, load the JSON file into this object, read for loop, the same PowerShell program what I've written, read for loop and get the data. So here also what I will do, I'll make a debugger and run the PowerShell Python program. So Python 3.0 import. Let's take an example. If you can represent, are you able to see? If you click on it, okay, two information. One is Kumar information, another is Dheeraj information, all those properties. Let's read one by one. So I'm writing a for loop, get the first information. So name is Kumar. Okay. What department he belongs to? Department is HR. Let's run the second one. I can go back and see the Dheeraj and testing. The two objects are completed. Now it come up and say JSON reader is completed. Okay, a small programs which I have written, and then I'm able to read the data. So what is that? So right now, what are the things we have learned? What is meant by a JSON? It's not a language at all. It is a data representation. Okay, very, very important. And how do you do a validation? That we have taken care. How do you read an object using PowerShell and Python? I've taken care. But let's go through one more step. Like people come up and specify, boss, I want a big JSON file with lot of objects for testings. So what I can do for a testing kind of a thing. So I think, okay, so this is a JSON formatter I said, right? So I'm JSON validator. I click on JSON here, click on proceed. It provides me whether the JSON is valid or not, and it neatly provides the information about my JSON. Wherever I do a mistake, right? Let's take an example. I'll go and keep a comma here and click on process. It will show you there is an error, and when you click on it, it shows you as an exactly what is an error. That's a good thing. This is JSON validator. And one more thing is JSON generator. So JSON and click on generator. Very important. You can go back to JSON generator. Okay, like this one. And here it says, very simple, repeat 5 to 7. I want to go and add 70 or 700 records. What is the information I require? Automatically, some details on JSON, IDE, GUID, active, picture, all these things. For my testing purpose, I need to generate. Just click on generate. You will see one automatically total JSON is created. Control A, Control C. Just go and open another one. You can see the total JSON format. Let's go and make it JavaScript JSON. Are you able to see how it got generated? Now you can write your own program to read the data. How do you want to do all these kind of things, which is important, right? So where in the real world, where do you see the JSON come? They're everywhere, man, wherever you are. Let's take an example. I would like to go and specify AWS Cloud Formation template samples. When you go and click on the sample site, you see every cloud formation template. It may be Azure templates. I don't know how many people know this one. Azure, very similar to AWS cloud formation template. You have Azure templates. So when I go back into, okay, click on this one and I click on services. I have, let's take an example of EC2. I want to take EC2. I want to read EC2 with security group. Click on it. What is this one? Straightforward, entire. Are you able to see how the JSON is coming into picture? Right? So very, very, very important kind of a thing. And one more very important part is how today's world it becomes nothing related to a language. I have written one program. I am providing a like let's take an example. Uh, I have an API. When I generate an API and call, hey, where does Kumar, which city he presents? The okay, the API is written in Java, but actually the API returns the value in JSON format. That JSON format, I can take an input and write it in another API, which is in, okay, basically in Python, and send this Hyderabad and get the information of longitude and latitude. So if you can go back here with the help of JSON data representation, multiple, okay, APIs, multiple language are able to speak to each other. That is the beauty of, okay, JSON. Okay, so I have provided a basic information about what is meant by a JSON, how it works. The next one, I will come up with something called as what is meant by a data representation. Another one very famous, YAML as well as XML. Okay, so thank you very much for watching my video. So please encourage me if you like my video. So please encourage me and okay, so like, if you like it, subscribe it. I will come up with more and more beautiful videos, very complex real time kind of a videos, and share it with all the people who are looking for new opportunities in their, okay, technical aspects. Thank you. Have a nice day.